All right, so picking up where I left off uh, on Islamic intelligence and political intelligence. Okay, without an Islamic intelligence, then we have collective failures within our community and our institutions. Failing to meet Islam's requirements, Islam's objectives, um, failing to meet that long list of obligations that most Muslims don't like, aren't even aware of because uh, Muslims are just so far behind the curve in learning Islam. Okay, but let me shift then over to political intelligence, and again, this is something that makes or breaks a society. Okay, and the so many quotes from the founders of this country because I studied a bit about American history, and they were all very emphatic that um, the people had to have a minimal political education and a minimal education in morals and ethics. Okay. Um, and really, this what we're seeing today then is that the American society has been dumbed down deliberately. Okay, deliberate programs to knock critical thinking out. It's widely known, like, for example, their biggest target really was the economics departments in the universities. And I was watching a video last night, and Dr. Stephanie Kelton was talking about this, and she said, yeah, that they 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 cut out like anything that leads to a critical thinking, critical intelligence of economy and economics, so that their graduates in the economics departments would only be useful on Wall Street, but they would not be politically useful. They would not be socially useful. They would just be like tools of the corporations. And that was done deliberately. Okay. But now getting into the Muslim community. Okay. Uh, I mean, it's extremely important. Um, and I think largely forgotten. Okay. Because, I mean, the Muslim world has been in decline, for 400 years and has been basically a disaster for 300 years. And yet, in all that time, has not developed a solution for itself. And the situation has just gotten worse and worse. Okay. And so I think where political intelligence left off in the Muslim world was in Turkey. And that's because they were the last remaining authority uh, the last remaining Islamic authority dealing with the rest of the world. Okay. And so the Islamic scholars and public administrators and public scholars were uh, for the, Sultanate, for the uh, Ottomani governance, were having to study modern economics, modern money, uh, the international banking system, the international trade system, etc. And uh, and you had very interesting things happening there because of course they were largely dealing with Western powers like England and France and parts of other parts of Europe. So they were fairly adept at understanding capitalism, but then their proximity to Russia, they also had some understanding of socialism. But then with the fall of the Khilafah there, then that was, you know, eh, I don't want to say lost. I mean, it's still there. Um, and for decades, I mean, there's been a very interesting mix in Turkey, okay, of uh, different groups, you know, Islamists, you know, people trying to be good Muslims, socialists, communists, and, you know, capitalists. But I think under Erdogan, any benefit of that mix has been annihilated. You know, I mean, he has just cleaned out the intellectual community there. So I think we just have to kiss Turkey goodbye. But getting back to our community here, all right. So I mean, Muslims are going to be, you know, the obvious targets, the obvious victims, and yet we don't have a political education curriculum here. I mean, there are very few people. I have one, okay, and it's an excellent program because it combines history, you know, 400 or 500 years of political philosophy, economics, the critiques of the economic system, and Islamic principle, and it's all packaged together. And I mean, I don't know anybody around who offers that. Okay, so really, this is extremely important, and I'm not saying that because this is my program. Okay, no, this is my program because it's important. Okay, I mean, I've always pursued things that are socially and collectively important. And that's what led to my studies, not only in Islam, but, you know, economics and political science and political history and so on and so forth. And that's why I can offer, you know, such an educational program because you're not getting it in the masajid, you're not getting it from our imams and our Islamic scholars. They're not qualified for it. Okay, they don't have the education for it. And then like you're not even getting it like from CARE, which is, you know, one of our main, you know, politically oriented organizations here, but I mean, they don't have a political IQ, political education program yet. Okay, my name is Mustafa Howard, and you know, I have a program. If you guys will, you know, look me up, I mean, it is very important because Muslims are going to need to know how to organize and how to interact and to know what is good policy and who are, you know, our closest allies in Western society. And we're not going to know that without a proper political education. Okay. So that's, you know, that's just one of the areas, and again, it's extremely important. We're in like a very dangerous situation because of, you know, the lack of political IQ and political involvement within American society itself. And so corruption has taken over, and what we're looking at because of capitalism and because of the nation state system and because of the greed and corruption, the things that we're witnessing in the news every day basically is a collapse of society. Okay, this is a collapse of civilization that we're living through. Okay, um, and that, you know, people who have studied the history of civilizations, you know, can see that, and that's not a pleasant thing. Okay, because when empires collapse, they collapse in blood and fire. Okay, and I mean that like very seriously. All right. And if we understand like the global system, the interconnectedness due to globalization, the globalization of finance and capital and production, and how our needs are met by the current distribution system. Okay, if this system shuts down suddenly, oh my God, I mean, you're talking about going down to the store and not finding food because without the monetary system functioning, nobody's going to harvest. Nobody's going to make the bread. Nobody's going to process the beef. And nobody's going to transport it down to the grocery store. Okay. So, and, we see like when we have an ice storm for 3 days and the bread shelf is empty down at the store. Well, imagine if the entire system shuts down. I mean, it would just be like a global catastrophe. All right. So it's very important. Please get in touch. I want to get together and meet with anybody just anytime. Message me, contact me. If you got my phone number, call me up. Okay. But let's get together on this. Extremely important. Jazakumullah khair. Assalamu alaikum.